what do you think about the split, Michelle? Have you heard about this? The split, the new Earth. I mean, obviously 5D and all that kind. It's all really the same thing, I guess.
I first heard about that from Dolores Cannon and her work, hypnotherapist, who started doing past life regressions and came up with all kinds of interesting things, including off-world past lives.
Yeah.
And so I have heard of it. So it's part of what I think could be going on. Probably like the rest of us, I have no idea how that looks. Other than maybe even people in our communities are kind of creating their own new realities, as opposed to this stuff that we're wanting to leave behind.
Which I guess is the same thing, but in the end, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, if we create reality, then all this intention is going to go and create something. I mean, that's why I don't go down these rabbit holes, and try, this negative side, because I've always just had this thing in my head, like if you put out videos about that, you're just going to be spreading, what you don't want.
Yeah. Even 5 years ago, let's say in the last 5 to 10 years, in my world, everybody's happy and people are kind and this other stuff doesn't exist. But I really believe if you don't know what's going on, and it doesn't have an opportunity to come out and heal, then it just festers. So I think we're in that time of things being brought forward into the light that need to come forward, because we've had no idea about it, and we have to do something with it. And those that are ready to deal with it directly, and that would be the darker side of it, we can't change that it happened. We can make better choices. We can release things into love and light and forgiveness, not acceptance. Because I mean, what's taken place is so horrible that I don't think any of us want to
go there. No, I know.
we don't want to bless it.
No,
but we have to be coming from our hearts instead of our heads with this, because our heads is what creates the polarization and the continuation of the quagmire that we find ourselves in. And here's the thing, I mean, it's not our fault. And when I say that, I mean, I say that because we've been manipulated.
Definitely, like literally since birth, even the word birth. I mean, it's this is the bit, isn't it? It's that confuses me. It's like, did we choose to come here to get this sorted out, or is this just, I don't know, it just seems a little unfair, doesn't it? That we seem to be here and there's this parasite just sort of just messing up our experience.
Yeah. And I mean, I think let me just answer that really quick, Bernard, and then I'll turn it over to you. I mean, I think that's a big part of it. I think a lot of souls volunteered to come in, and that's also part of Dolores Cannon's work, as she talks about volunteer souls that agreed to come here.
But why? It's so why did I agree? It's so annoying down here, man.
I've asked myself that question also. But
I know we're almost there, but come on.
I think because we had to, because you have to be incarnated here on Earth to be able to do anything about it. And so if there weren't people that were capable of waking up and this was allowed to happen, it will affect everything in the universe moving forward. What happens here on Earth is so important. And if the dark completely takes over, like they wanted to, and here's where I'm coming from, is I just can't believe they're going to get away with it.
And everything you're saying, Michelle, resonates with me so deeply, and that it's all about the power of projection and law of attraction, and that it's not accepting that this negative manipulation is the end all and be all of it. It's that to know that we are the power, that we have the power of creation in this incarnation on the third plane, and that's why we volunteered to come back as old souls, is to have the power to wake up within yourself during this transition into a new age, and that from that, our old lives, our old experiences, to then use it to help shift and awaken all of the new souls that are trapped right now being manipulated, and help them take back control of their free will, and to actively build the heaven on earth that we all dream of, that we all know was the past, and that we all know will be the future.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like everything that's been put out, it's all offering acceptance, isn't it? It's all fear, and if we accept it, then we go to their side pretty much, and that's their only tool, really. It's their only weapon.
Right. It's about not living in that lower vibrational mind state and emotion of the fear, of the hate, of the sadness, and to elevate yourself up to the joy, the happiness, the love, and then being in that fourth or fifth dimensional consciousness, where you're then connecting to your soul self, to the Akashic records, and to like the divine and the source consciousness, right? And the collective consciousness. And once you're there, you have the power of the ancestors, you have your guardian angels, you have even your own self, right? And from that is how to tap in and know that there's so much more to the universe, to existence, and to your moment in time.
And I think your work has a lot to do with that, Bernard, and some other people we've talked about, Douglas Giacoboni. They have completely screwed with our understanding of where we are, who we are, how the universe works. And we've talked about some of the philosophers and scientists like Walter Russell, Tesla, Royal Rife, others as well, that their work is still out there, but they've been marginalized and, kind of put under the rug of history. They're there, but they don't get put forward in school or anything like that.
No, and they're put up as quacks, a bit as well, aren't they? That they're not mainstream, so they're, and of course they hide all the evidence, so everyone just thinks, oh, it's just a crazy idea that never came to anything. But the truth is, most of these people's they created heaps of stuff. That's why they were silenced. Like Buckminster Fuller as well. His work, there's a lot of people following his work, but it's still hard to find, even with all the interest in it. It's just unbelievable.
But even in spite of all of that and all of the efforts that have been made, I know even in my own case, I mean, the chances of me waking up were like that. I just happened to make the right choices at the right time that took me away from what would have, kept me asleep. And I grew up in a, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, mostly middle-class family, knew nothing about any of this and still don't. It's not a conversation I can have with my family. Not a part of their world at all. And so, and that there's probably stories like that, between us and then the people that watch our, YouTube channels and things like that. They're looking for answers and looking for something different because they know something's really wrong.
And I mean, I think one of the biggest clues is when you bring these topics up is the reaction you get. It's like, hang on, that's not really normal. That's a programmed reaction. Yeah, it's just weird, isn't it? Like people will, sort of entertain all these different thoughts and think things, oh, wow, that's interesting. But some things, some trigger words are just like, hang on, conspiracy theory. So it's all programmed. I mean, but it's interesting, like, I mean, like you said, you woke up, but I mean, what makes people wake up? What leads them on that thing? And why are some people not programmable? You know, why it's, you know, there's some people, like, I never woke up. I was born, you know. I was always confused. So, I mean, I wonder what that is. Because clearly there's something different, like, you know, what, I've never been interested in the news or any of that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's just been a thing in me. I mean, so I wonder what that is. It's just, I don't know.
Yes, in many ways, same here. When I was young, I watched television. There, up until I think the time that I graduated from high school in the early 80s, I watched television, but I really haven't been interested in it since then. And definitely not anymore. But me personally, it's been, I'll be 58 next week. It's probably been at least 30 years or more since I've really
Happy
watched
birthday.
television.
And I actually turned 36 in 5 days as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, July 17th is my birthday. I take it you're a Cancer as well, Michelle?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
Cancer's kick butt.
You just missed out. You were so close. So close to being Leos.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm actually I'm a double Cancer, and I've also got other Cancer stuff in my chart too. So.
Oh.
Yeah, I was actually born on my grandfather's birthday, so we had the
Wow.
exact same birthday. And July 17th, he's my Russian grandfather, that sadly passed away 2 years ago. There, we talked about how they killed him with fentanyl at an overnight hospital trip at the age of 101. He was going strong, but anywho, besides that, July 17th historically happens to be a very powerful date in Russian history. Like even just a couple years ago, that tragic Ukrainian flight that they ended up blaming on Russia, that happened to happen on my birthday on a Russian day. But a lot of in like the revolutions and stuff like that with them. But yeah, I fully believe and experience past lives. Like, I've had reoccurring dreams since a child of living an incarnation somewhere on Mars. And it just from that alone, and it's like every dream is like of that is a vivid like memory almost, and they're never the same. And it's I have I guess in those experience lucid dreaming, where the majority of the time I'm not a lucid dreamer, where my girlfriend Amber is extremely lucid dreamer. But it's just ever since I can remember as a kid, always going back to Mars and being chased by some sort of authority figure on Mars.
Because Mars is a recurring theme in the whole Dolores Cannon narrative, isn't it? Like, there's a lot of people that have that recollection. The only recurring dream I've ever had, and I've had it my whole life, is I'm running. I don't know if I'm being chased, but I'm running and I run off a cliff. But I just keep running as I'm falling, and I hit the ground and I just keep running, and that's it.
No, you don't die, you just keep running.
Yeah, I just fall, and as I'm falling, I'm still running, and then I just hit the ground and just keep going. It's just weird.
For me, I have a recurring theme. I don't have a recurring dream, but I have a recurring theme. And the recurring theme is what's called the student stream. And that's when I'm in school, I'm registered for classes, and I was a really good student, and I, wouldn't dream of missing classes. I'm missing all these classes, and then all of a sudden I'm stuck because I can't pass the tests. And I've dreamed that I don't know how many times in different campuses, different places, and
wow.
I'm
So
sure it means something. But
have you had that since you've woken up?
No, I had that many years before.
And so since you've passed the test, then it stopped,
Yeah.
eh?
Right. I guess so. Yeah, because I would say that
right.
I woke up within the last 10 years, let's say. So that dream started probably after I graduated from college back in '89. So,
Wow.
and it's just really bizarre because it's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't withdraw from this class. I can't pass the test. What am I going to do?
See, that's your old
gonna
self.
fail.
That's your soul speaking to you, that like telling you to wake up, of like you passed, you're searching for the knowledge, right? You're searching for that purpose, and then you're doing good, you're accelerating at it, you love it, but it keeps telling you that you're failing your test, your spiritual test and journey, right? And then the fact that you haven't had that dream since going into this new path and awakening highly leads to that indication, right? That it was your spiritual side telling you that you need to awaken and not go into the system, right? Not be the mechanical part, but follow your own journey, and that was the test that you were looking to pass, right? And it's that, not that you don't have the capabilities, or not that you're succeeding at what you were doing. It's just that it's shoving you or pushing you in the direction of the spiritual side of things. And that, especially in Western society, is where so many people get lost and are trapped these days, and then are able to fall into that cycle of division, polarization, divide and conquer, and then traumatized, and then fall into the even worse cycle of the negative feedback loops of trauma, right? But that's why this lockdown has probably been the greatest thing that has happened for the Western world. How we're taking out of being that daily cog in the gear, and then put into a position where they had to finally deal with themselves and their own spiritual voice and consciousness telling them where to go or to start looking. And thank goodness, more than ever, people are waking up and coming on and doing their own things and following that journey.
Yeah, and that's truth. Just a couple of things. One, you mentioned your birthday is the 17th of July. Mine's the 19th. And there's certain occult ritual dates that the cabal does things on. March 22nd is a big one. 322, which is also the skull and bones. Yeah. But also 9/11 is another one. And I think my birthday, July 19th, from what I'm seeing come up in history, is also one of those ritual date periods.
Wow.
So the 17th may well fall into that. And if they're going to ritualize for negative outcomes, they choose certain dates and certain astronomical alignments and things like that. I do believe they're losing their power. I mean, I just they're still trying, but they're so exposed now, and they can only get away with it before, when they weren't exposed and nobody knew what was going on.
It's literally like what we're seeing is, it's like on I guess on They Live, it's like the show's going on, but it's like, and it's buffering to like, all the effects are sort of going away. And we, because we see Biden out there doing weird stuff and all this weird behavior, and
their programming is breaking down.
Yeah.
The programming breaking down, and people are starting to see through their intuition, right? That the truth will resonate with you. You feel it, right? It's that you don't necessarily have to hear it with your ears or through your spiritual receptors, and that the truth will resonate with your soul. It's your gut feeling, that intuition, that's the higher consciousness, the universe speaking to you. Just like synchronicities, numbers, deja vus, all of that, that is your spiritual soul, your consciousness, your guardian angels, your universe speaking to you. And it's up to you to use your free will to follow it and act on it, or to remain asleep and complacent and not use your will at all, right? And that's how people are zombies. That's how they steal the souls, right? And
that's what work was, right? People would go, oh, I've got this, I should do this, I should, oh, but work, oh, but who's going to pay the bills, oh, but, and they'd ignore it. It was taught, you know, you just ignore that stuff. But if you act on it, things start to change pretty quickly, really. And it's also, you know, trust, like this whole worry thing. You know, people worry about the future and worry about money, but the truth is, you know, they spend all their time worrying, but they forget to realize that they've made it this far quite fine. You know, the money's always there. They haven't starved. It always turns up, but they have this feeling like, oh, no, you know.
I think about that a lot, because considering everything, it could have been a lot worse. And for a lot of people in a lot of places, it was way, way worse. I mean, the genocide is just off the charts, and most of it never has had attention drawn to it. So you know, people don't realize.
And ongoing genocide still today.
Ongoing genocide.
They've done such a good job through controlling the media and the narrative that people need to wake up, but to take accountability of what our governments are doing, what we're still allowing the empire to abuses to do. And to the most powerful vote you have is by voting with your dollar, the monetary, and how you can vote to not keep enslavement is not put your money in the banks, not give them that 22% through Visa or using the US dollar, but instead take your money, you put it into the cryptos, the free exchange that is a monetary system that is person to person, that you're no longer feeding the empire, you're no longer feeding the gears. In fact, you're taking your resources, your hours of labor, and your monetary value, and you're taking it out of that oppression, enslavement system, and putting it into building the new free human to human system grid and complex, I guess, essentially, right? And that is how we are changing it. And once you get into it and see what's happening, you will be so uplifted, because there's millions upon millions of people that are already doing it and that have already built the foundations, that have already, anything you can pretty much think of or dream of, you will go in, you'll start looking for it, and you will find that there are massive amounts of other people doing it that are there waiting to collaborate with you. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And that you don't fall into the fear or like the risk or the stress, right? Those are the emotions that take your vibrational consciousness down, that prevent you from then acting upon the higher, like happiness, joy, success, love, higher consciousness. And that once you're in that happiness, joy, and seeing stuff that's what's going on and participating in it, you then create that positive feedback loop that keeps self-reinforcing, and you'll find that you're no longer stressed on a daily aspect about the money or about work or about what ifs here or there. Instead, you're like, oh my goodness, this is happening. And then the law of attraction happens, right? So then someone else will randomly come in and contribute something to what you were hoping for. And then it's like, oh my god, right? And it keeps you on that higher consciousness, and it it's inertia, right? And it just accelerates, it builds on it, and it's a wonderful thing. And it's that you have to use your free will to act upon it.
Right.
Yeah, action. I agree. Action. Yeah, act on it.
And it's our free will that they've really also messed with, because we've been lied to and we react based on lies. And that takes away our free will, or has taken it away.
Yeah, well, most people don't believe they've got free will anymore.
And that is the third incarnate, like it's positive, negative. That's the duality, right? Good and bad. And then the third dimension is your consciousness, your free will to choose whether to do that good or that bad.
The gap.
And
yes,
everything hidden in plain sight, right? They say that you have everything, they hide it in plain sight, and that's the rule, because they have to show you it. They have to put that programming out to tell you what they're doing, and then you either use your free will to see it, acknowledge it, and understand it, or to just be part of that cog, and you are being ignorant. You're using your free will to choose ignorance, to say, oh no, that's just a conspiracy theory. Oh no, that's not true. Someone would never do that, right? And that is how you sacrifice and give up your free will. And that's why you're then left operating in the fear, in the sadness, in that two-dimensional emotion, lower vibrational plane, instead of the third and the fourth, where you're in love, light, happiness, or just in the third of consciously choosing whether you're doing good or bad on a daily basis.
Right. And that's actually why they went through all the trouble of what they've done. Earth is a free will plane. Let's call it a plane. Realm. So they really can't touch us. So I think that's why the mudfloods were created. I think that's why they dug everything out. I think that's why they rewrote history with them in it, with the lies built into it. So it was all that we would know. But that's why it's not worse. They couldn't just come in and do what they planned on doing.
Yeah.
They've done it incrementally, and they've come scarily close to getting away with it, but they have to tell us, and we have to agree to it. Now, if we're watching a movie and look at that, thinking it's fiction, not realizing we're being told something, to me, that's not being told. That's not informed consent. No, but that's one of their loopholes. Watching movies like Back to the Future and
it's literally almost like the movies are the truth and the news is the lies. They've completely flipped it. But they, like you say, they always tell us, but they're not going to tell you on the news. They're not going to, but if you look, it's all out there. And especially now, that's why now it's, it really is a choice if you're conforming at the moment, because, 5 years ago, you might be able to argue, okay, it's a bit hard to find this stuff. But now, I mean, if you're watching the news and you're not going, what's going on?
It's literally opposite land in the news. Like any bill that the government's passing, anything that they say, like, I can't think of anything right now, but like there was literally like any of the big things, like the bills of, it's like, this is the health relief bill. It's like, okay, so that bill's gonna kill us.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Like, like it's just ridiculous. The freedom bill. Oh, okay. So you're taking away more of our rights. Okay.
Right. So thank you for reminding me. So a while back, I did research on art as a programming device. And I was looking at literature at the same time, but I bring this up because there was a movement in art called Surrealism.
Oh.
And Salvador Dali was a great example. I mean, that man's life was insane. He lived this Surrealist manifesto, and it was actually called that. Is that Dali? Of course it is. Yeah. So, so what is playing out now, if not surreal? It's surreal.
Yeah.
And that was an actual movement. That's the end
Surrealism.
result
Yeah.
of this surrealist movement, where, white is black and right is wrong, and everything's upside down. And that's what they were doing. I mean,
oh, okay. You're right.
Dali used to grease his mustache
yeah.
and flies, he would let flies stick to his mustache. And he would, if you just look it up online about him, he would wear like crazy outfits out to these places. And the surrealists were like saying that the height of our psyche is when it's broken down and damaged, essentially is what they were promoting. And that's what we're seeing play out. I mean, there's that segment of society that's just been completely sledgehammered by these ideologies.
Oh my God, yes.
And and then you have the pocket of people that are like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on? How are people even hearing what's being said and thinking everything's okay? And that's the other thing that's happening, because people that follow mainstream media, and they're hearing what Operation Mockingbird's been putting out for years and years, and they believe what the news people tell them. And that's the case in a lot of my family. They've just been brainwashed, and they don't see themselves that way.
Of course not, no, because they're brainwashed.
So you've got the people that are flat out sledgehammered and just metal all over and
rain on the floor.
And then you've got normal people, so-called normal people, that just don't see it because they've just been fed so many lies. And that's just the result of this mind control stuff that's been going on. And I mean, I don't think the Nazis
and that's
were
really what's creating the polarization.
Mhm.
It's really what's created such polarization and division within society. And that is really what's holding up and preventing the complete fall and shattering of the narrative and the old system. And it's that there's enough people that are now awake, that are aware of the truth, that can essentially take control and flip it. And it's that they know that there's the remaining amounts that are so indoctrinated into the old system that the manipulators will be able to count on them and flip them into like physically defending it. And they don't want to trigger a civil war within everybody. And that is how they've prevented families even from being able to talk to each other, different realities of what the narrative is, and then what everyone has been finding out is the truth. And that even though it's like it's your literal sister, mother, father, child, or whatnot that you're talking to, that they rather believe what society and the institutions are saying to them than their own family members. And to the point where they will actually, people get into physical fights and alterations with like blood relatives over trying to like wake them up or tell the truth. And it's that you have to just make peace with everybody's on their own journey. So if your loved one is in that level of indoctrination and belief in the old system, that you are going to do more harm either emotionally or physically to them, yourself, or your relation, where that is not like a recommended strategy of like just pushing an idealism on them in hopes that you're freeing them, because it's going to be damaging either to their own psyche or to your relationship with them, where instead you find ways that you can relate to them, things that they love, and then give them pieces of information that they will then pursue themselves and look into, and then they'll wake themselves up, and where you're leading from behind sort of thing, right? That it's got to be on their own initiative to get into it, to start pursuing these truths, and that you can help them along that by finding something that you know will be relevant to them, that they will engage on their own, and then that and in that find a curiosity or find a discrepancy that they will recognize and be like, hey, this doesn't make sense from what I've taught, but I've experienced this whatever it is sort of thing, reality on my own. So I know that what the official narrative is saying can't be true. And from that point, then they will start looking into other things, right? And
definitely.
People
this is
definitely need to be ready.
I must be on the wrong account because it's telling me we've only got 3 minutes left. So I'm going to have to send you another link, guys. Sorry.
That's okay.
Before I forget, quickly, can we do this again next week at the same time? But can we bring in Douglas for that one? Because we really got to start something, Michelle, or maybe even earlier that night or something. If me and him do something.
Yeah, I just want to meet first and see how comfortable he feels with going to a larger audience. But definitely have us talk for sure.
Okay.
Oh, who's Douglas?
You want to email him?
Okay. Yeah, I will do that after this. But yeah, send the next link there.
I shall. I'll see you all in a minute.
The book I have up there is actually related to Douglas in the sense that it's words, how they've structured words and break them down into other things, and then like creating your own words out of meanings. But yeah, that's discussion for another day. I just put that up there.